Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy is a brain disease caused by repetitive blows to the head. You might have heard about CTE through a documentary or an article, as it has gained a lot of attention in the last 10 years. CTE is most commonly found in football players, military soldiers, and boxers. Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy, previously referred to as dementia pugilistica or punk drunk syndrome. The disease was first seen in a group of boxers in 1928. But the first diagnosis of CTE was on Mike Webster in 2002. Mike Webster was a center in the NFL who died at the age of 50 due to a heart failure. The diagnosis was done by Dr. Bennett Alamalu, a physician, forensic pathologist, and a neuropathologist. CTE cannot be diagnosed in a living person, and there is no treatment or cure for the disease. CTE shows symptoms of other neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's. Since CTE has no cure or treatment and can only be diagnosed after someone dies, you can only look at the symptoms, but since they are just like other neurodegenerative disorders, it's very hard to pinpoint CTE. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy has a meaning. Chronic as in it builds over a long period of time. Traumatic because research shows that there is a pretty good connection between repetitive brain trauma and developing these findings. Encephalopathy meaning it can cause a disturbance in the function of the brain. People can only be diagnosed with CTE if they are deceased. Doctors with a specialty in brain disease can diagnose through brain tissue analysis. They use special chemicals to make tau clumps visible. Then they systematically search areas of the brain for tau clumps with a unique pattern specific to CTE. This process can take up to 7 months to complete. There are 4 stages of CTE. Stage 1 consists of early-on symptoms. Symptoms can include lack of insight, memory loss, confusion, personality change, erratic behavior, difficulty with balance and motor skills. These symptoms can begin anywhere from instantly to a decade over the last brain trauma. In Stage 2, those with CTE find themselves suffering from depression, mood swings, explosivity, and short-term memory loss. Things get a lot worse in Stage 3. Those in Stage 3 experience executive dysfunction, memory loss, explosivity, and have difficulty with attention and concentration. They suffer from frequent depression and mood swings. They have visual-spatial difficulties and are very aggressive. They often get headaches, apathy, impulsivity, and suicidal symptoms, but to a lesser extent. Stage 4 consists of all the Stage 3 symptoms, but more severe. They have language difficulties.
The anxiety makes my heart beat faster.
Explosivity.
Calls her a dumb hoe and spells dumb, D-U-M. Way to go, Antonio. Then says if his son doesn't understand some things, he's gonna have to come from around him. Mind you, his son is only 9 years old.
Aggressive tendencies, paranoia, gait, and visual-spatial difficulties. They become more aggressive to the point where they are violent with others and themselves for no reason. The most common causes of death for a person with CTE are respiratory failures, cardiac disease, suicide, overdose, end-stage dementia, and malignancy. As of 2017, there were 110 deceased NFL players with confirmed CTE. CTE has been seen in people as young as 17. The teenager's name has not been publicly shared for privacy reasons, but doctors found in the autopsy signs that he was in the early stages of CTE. CTE is a disease in the brain caused by repetitive head impacts. This type of trauma can trigger progressive degeneration of the brain tissue, including the building of an abnormal form of protein called tau. This interrupts the function of the brain by disturbing the connections necessary for your brain to function. Therefore, as time goes on, CTE gets worse because it degenerates your brain over time. A 2019 study by the Boston University Alzheimer's Disease Clinical Core shows that CTE isn't caused by just concussions, but the biggest factor is subconcussive hits and hits to the head. This study is very important because it proves that CTE is more susceptible to players who have played longer. One of the top NFL stories of 2019 was Antonio Brown being released from 3 different teams. Antonio Brown's outrageous antics began in 2016 after a terrible knockout hit to the head at the end of the season. This drastically changed his personality and behavior. There's been a lot of questions and concerns about Antonio Brown, and a theory has been brought up that Antonio Brown may have CTE. As the NFL has no shortage of divas, Antonio Brown is like no other. Up until the knockout hit, Antonio Brown had no problems or incidents. The list begins after the hit. The list leaves out the sexual assault charge that Antonio Brown is facing. As stated before, Antonio Brown was not dramatic at all before the hit, in fact having no problems. But after the hit, his personality and behavior was altered. Antonio Brown checks out for all the symptoms for stage 1 and 2 for CTE.
Your balance. When you get a concussion, doing the eyes test with the symptoms usually make you real dizzy, lightheaded, and wanting to sleep a lot.
Are you upset by that?
Yeah, I'm extremely upset. If anybody saw the hit or saw what took place, it was evident you can't act none like that, in the heat of the game and the situation of the play.
Did you wink at him, as he said, when you left the field?
No, I didn't wink at him, man. If I was even conscious, I would have reacted to perfect Bontes, whatever, and the reaction of the hit. As you can see, I had no reaction, totally lost consciousness. And
so you're out. Are you out before you even hit the turf?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because he hit me right in the head right before I hit the turf. Yeah.
Memory loss?
A little bit. My coach was telling me I was smiling and talking to him like they thought it was regular, but I didn't recall any of it.
What would you say to Burfict?
He's an idiot.
And for some of the stage 3, Antonio Brown has been playing football since his elementary school days, 27 years, making it a longer career than most, and also hinting at the fact that Antonio Brown has CTE. Although it can't be diagnosed, it's pretty obvious that the concussions and head traumas have impacted Antonio Brown. For another example, we'll look at Aaron Hernandez. After an autopsy on Aaron Hernandez, who only played 3 seasons in the NFL, they found that Aaron Hernandez suffered from CTE. So obviously, CTE doesn't matter on time playing football, as there's been CTE found in 17-year-olds, 27-year-olds like Aaron Hernandez, and people like Larry Fitzgerald, who are in his 40s and has been playing football all his life, does not have CTE and shows no symptoms. But the correlation between playing longer also results in getting more hits to the head over time, which can weaken and damage your brain. So let's compare Antonio Brown to Emmanuel Sanders because they are the most similar receivers in the NFL. Antonio Brown is a 32-year-old star receiver in the NFL who seems to suffer from CTE. Emmanuel Sanders is a 33-year-old star receiver in the NFL who doesn't seem to suffer from CTE. Both receivers have played football growing up and were drafted by the same team in the same draft in 2010. Both receivers have similar success in the career and the same number of concussions, 1. So why does all the symptoms for CTE land on one person and not a single symptom on the other? Antonio Brown has been looked at as one of the greatest receivers of our time since 2010. He has made the NFL top 100 5 times. He was a problem-free receiver until a knockout hit in 2016, ending his season, where he obtained a grade 1 concussion. Since then, Antonio Brown has just been a problem on and off the field. Emmanuel Sanders has been looked at as one of the elite receivers in the NFL of our time since he was drafted in 2010. He has made the NFL top 100 twice and won a Super Bowl. He has been a problem-free elite receiver for his whole career and has taken worse hits than Antonio Brown. In 2016, around the same time Antonio Brown was knocked out, he was knocked out and given a grade 1 concussion as well, running full sprint on a straight route where he was hit in the head. Emmanuel Sanders has managed to keep his ego in check and hasn't been a problem on and off the field ever. Both receivers have multiple kids, and both are very wealthy and married, Antonio Brown soon to be. They both have fame, and both have endured relatively the same amount of brain trauma and success, with almost identical pasts. So why do the head impacts affect Antonio Brown so dramatically when they don't affect Emmanuel Sanders? Let's look at another comparison. We'll look at Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Rob Gronkowski is a 31-year-old tight end who just came out of retirement to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has been playing football for 18 years. Rob has been concussed countless times and shows some symptoms of CTE, but are more than likely not CTE.
He's an ass. And he's dumb. He's a dumbass.
Aaron Hernandez was a 27-year-old tight end who died after murdering multiple people. He played football for 14 years and was diagnosed with CTE after he died in 2017. Rob Gronkowski has been a generational talent since his college days. He is a famous tight end. He is famous on the internet, the football field, and has gained an insane following. He has won 3 Super Bowls while making the top 100 constantly throughout his career, since he was drafted in 2010. He has shown little signs of CTE, but
The whole
little.
time, it's a small world after all. I did it with my mom.
Aaron Hernandez was a tight end for the same team, New England Patriots, in the same draft as Gronkowski, for the same position. He had only had 1 concussion and was found to be in stage 3 of CTE by the Boston University researchers. Aaron knew this himself, and when he killed himself, he left a note for researchers to examine his brain for signs of CTE, as he said that this wasn't his normal self. Although Aaron had outside troubles, he came from an abusive childhood with bad parents and was often beat along with his brother. So why did one get CTE so bad while the other didn't? Researchers found that Aaron Hernandez had a genetic marker that made people more vulnerable to brain disease and could have contributed to how aggressively he developed CTE. Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy is a brain disease that can be obtained very quickly or that you can be very resistant to, depending on your genetics. CTE has been seen in people as young as 17, although it is very rare. Many people have also played football for over 30 years, with hundreds of head impacts, and seem to be fine. It is not known what you can genetically possess to make you more immune to CTE, so the results are inconclusive. Although lots of young kids love to play contact sports, people don't realize the seriousness and the effects that one can get from hits to the head. As kids grow up, their minds are still developing, and these hits to the head in sports like football, boxing, and wrestling can be detrimental. Luckily, the speculation on CTE in contact sports has risen as it has been a prevalent fear in the recent years. Football is changing in ways to prevent head impacts, like with their hitting form and how linemen block. But even though these precautions are coming into play, it is still important to encourage your family and friends to stop pushing themselves after concussions and brain traumas, as it can only lead to problems later on in life.